Ever find yourself staring into the fridge like, what am I even doing here? Like when you catch yourself reaching for something that you wouldn't normally eat,
Mm.
makes you wonder, do we really know what's going on up there?
It's a question for the ages, isn't it?
Totally. So get ready to take a deep dive into the world of introspection. We're going deep into an article that tackles this whole idea of looking inward. And let me tell you, it's going to make you question everything you thought you knew about your own thoughts and feelings.
It's a fascinating topic, that's for sure.
Okay, so introspection, right? It seems simple enough on the surface. You're just examining your own thoughts, your feelings, all that good stuff. But this article, it goes way deeper. It asks, what even counts as real introspection? Like, is it just a quick glance inward, or is there more to it? And get this, are there different types of introspection?
Now, those are some interesting questions.
Right. And it gets even wilder. This article actually explores something called self-blindness. Like, could some people be totally clueless about their own minds? Now, that's a thought.
It really makes you think.
Buckle up, because we're about to unpack some seriously thought-provoking ideas about how well we really know ourselves. So, okay, if we don't have some kind of like special internal radar for this stuff, how do we learn about our own minds?
It's a great question.
This article I was reading, it suggests that maybe we figure ourselves out kind of the same way we figure out other people, by observing actions and like putting the pieces together. What do you think?
Yeah, that makes sense, right? Like when your friend's in a bad mood, you don't actually feel their feelings. You notice they're acting grumpy or quiet, and you figure it out. This theory says maybe it's the same with ourselves.
Like we're scientists of our own minds.
In a way, yeah. Observing our behavior, trying to make sense of it. The article calls it the self-other parody idea.
Okay, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
But it gets a little weird, right? Because the article also talks about these experiments where people were totally off about why they did things.
Oh, yeah, I remember those.
Like they would completely misinterpret their own choices right there in the moment. Wild, right?
It really is. It wasn't just that they struggled to explain their choices after the fact, but that they seemed to genuinely believe these explanations they came up with, even when the explanations didn't line up with how they actually acted.
And it's not just some random thing in a lab, right? This connects to real life.
Yeah.
Like how often are we making up stories about why we do what we do?
All the time. I mean, think about it. We convince ourselves we deserve that expensive coffee, but maybe we were just swayed by the smell.
Or how about this? That big career change you made, was it really a calculated decision, or were you subconsciously influenced by something else entirely? It makes you think twice.
Exactly. We're so good at coming up with reasons for our behavior, but how often are those reasons the actual reasons, This article really makes you question that whole process.
So we might not always have the clearest picture of our own motivations, but it gets even weirder, right?
Oh, tell me about it. This article goes deep down the rabbit hole.
Because then they start talking about how just thinking about something, like a feeling, could actually make it happen. It's like, whoa.
It's mind-bending, right? The idea that our thoughts don't just reflect our mental state, but actually shape it.
Exactly. The article even gives us this example. I am thinking. Like, try to argue with that one.
Right. It's impossible to think that thought without it being true. But some philosophers think this self-fulfillment thing goes way beyond just simple thoughts. Like, what about our desires, intentions, the big stuff?
Okay, so like if I'm constantly telling myself I'm going to ace this presentation, I might actually be improving my chances.
It's a possibility. And on the flip side, constantly dwelling on negative thoughts, that could make those negative experiences more likely.
So positive self-talk isn't just some motivational fluff. It's like shaping our reality.
Potentially, yeah. It's like instead of just passively observing our minds, we're actively creating them with every thought. Pretty wild, huh?
Totally. But wait, there's more. They also talk about this transparency thing when it comes to our experiences.
Ah, yes. The idea that we see through our experiences, not at them.
Right, like I'm looking at this coffee cup. I'm not thinking, oh, I'm having a visual experience. I'm just seeing a coffee cup.
It's like our awareness just flows through our experiences. They're this invisible window we look right through.
Which, if you think about it, makes introspection even trickier. If we don't even notice our experience as something separate, how can we really understand it?
It's a good point. It's like trying to describe the taste of water. It's so fundamental to our existence, we don't even know how to describe it.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, from questioning our motivations to the very nature of our experiences. What's the takeaway, you think?
Well, I think this article really highlights how complex and even how deceptive introspection can be. It's not a simple answer machine, you know?
Definitely not. It's more like a hall of mirrors, maybe.
Yeah, and this article encourages us to approach it with a healthy dose of skepticism. We shouldn't just assume we have perfect access to our own minds, you know?
So next time you're trying to figure out why you did something, maybe take a step back. Consider the different angles, even the uncomfortable ones.
Absolutely. And hey, here's something else to chew on. The article mostly focuses on individual introspection, right? But what about the role other people play in understanding ourselves?
Oh, that's a great point. Do our relationships, like with friends, family, even colleagues, do they give us a different perspective? Like a mirror to see our own blind spots?
Exactly. Maybe social interactions are like these external checks and balances for our own introspection. It's something to think about as you go about your day.
Definitely gives you a lot to think about, that's for sure. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Until next time.